What is up everybody, my name's LeakyTapsMan and this is another wishlist video in which I tell you guys what I'd like to see in the sequel to an established game, and this week I'm going to do Dead Island 2, or as it's rumoured to be called, Dead World. So if it really is Dead World as it's rumoured to be, then we can assume that it's going to take place in more than just an island. With that said, I'd like a few more city type landscapes. I think that the city in the first game was probably the best part of the game, although definitely keep the tropical settings to an extent. It's what distinguished itself from the other zombie titles on the market. The main thing I'd actually like for the game itself is largely technical rather than design choices. I think the graphics need quite a bit of an improvement. The textures especially are really shoddy and not up to scratch for a game of this generation in terms of what you'd expect. I mean, I'm not the biggest graphics whore, far from it, but there's a certain limit, and I think Dead Island really pushed that limit. And also the glitches. There were an insane amount of glitches at the launch of the game. It got quite a bit better with a couple of updates, but it's still not great, to be honest. So for Dead Island 2, I'd just say extensive testing is an absolute must, because the original could have gotten incredibly good review scores and instead it just got fairly decent scores, and I think the glitches was a large factor for that. In terms of storyline, I'm not going to get into the original story and why it wasn't great, but I'll just tell you that it wasn't very good. And the scripts especially were really poor. Just hire a few extra writers that know what they're doing and try not to make it like the original. Basically copy any other game that has a good story, but Dead Island's story was absolutely rubbish. And with that said, the humanization of characters needs to be increased so that I actually give a crap about them. There were so many instances where we were told to go help out this guy or save this guy and I couldn't give two craps whether they died or not. So in Dead Island 2 I'd like them to actually try and build some empathy, let us see some actual character in these people instead of just that bland look that they all seem to give, and make it so that we want to help them rather than feeling obliged to. A few design choices I'd like to see are a day and night cycle, and not just one that constitutes changing from day to night as you move from area to area, or changing weather from area to area. That's another thing, weather. A dynamic day and night cycle where different zombie types come out at different times of the day, and obviously you'd like to think that more would come out at night, so it really ramps up the survival horror aspect of it all and just gives the game that whole extra dimension. Something else that I think would add to the whole survival aspect is make the zombie spawns far more random, because after a while you just eventually learned where all the zombies spawned, and it takes that whole element of fear out of the game. And for a game that focuses on surviving against waves and waves of zombies, that's really not a good thing. The predictability totally detracted from the game in the end. It wasn't such an issue to begin with, but once you started to do a few missions in the same area, you really did not fear that area anymore. So something along the lines of Left 4 Dead's director mode, or whatever they call it, I'm not sure, but they have random spawns basically on their maps and it keeps all the maps feeling fresh. I'd like to see something like that. Maybe not on the same scale to make it every zombie is a random spawn, but certainly a large concentration should be. Another thing I'd like is the arena mode actually released with the game at launch. That's something that I feel should definitely actually be included on the disc, and also expand upon it, because it was very basic compared to the likes of Horde and Survival Mode and other similar gameplay types. I think continuous objectives along the lines of Black Ops Zombies is something that could be included, or they could make it more akin to Left 4 Dead. Either of those would be fine, just make it a bit better than what it was in the original. And I'll go through a few more minor things. There needs to be far less fetch quests, and if they do persist with them, then give us a better reason than finding a bloody teddy for some hysterical woman. Make it actually count. Quest variety was pretty abysmal in the first game. I mean, I did enjoy it, don't get me wrong, but far too many missions felt like a copy and paste job. I think that the level scaling needs some pretty big adjustments. In fact, ideally I'd like to see it gone altogether, but I would also accept a toned down version. If you don't know what I'm on about, level scaling is essentially having the zombies level up as you do, so they're all the same level. And it essentially makes leveling redundant. Well, not redundant, that's probably too harsh a word, but it devalues leveling in my opinion. And it keeps the difficulty more or less at the same level throughout the entire game, which is something that really shouldn't happen. I'd like to see areas of the map where you dare not go to begin with, and then as you gradually get more powerful you should be able to go there and kick some ass. And I'd also like to see some proper stats as we level up and allocation of stat points rather than just basically buying new skills as we level up. It just gives that extra bit of character depth. And another minor thing I'd like to see is, if we're playing on our own, I'd like at least one co-op partner in the form of AI, but that's not imperative. Oh, and one more suggestion is mixing up the combat a bit. I'd like to see the fire spreading feature from Far Cry 2, where you could basically Molotov a grassy area and it would spread around and basically light up a whole field if you did it in the right area. Something like that could work well on Dead Island if you like set a light to a hut or something and kill a few zombies inside. That's one thing I'd definitely think that the developers could look into, and it would be pretty damn fun, to be honest. Okay, so that more or less summarises everything that I'd like to see in Dead Island 2. And as always, I call upon you guys to give me your suggestions. Tell me whether you like the original Dead Island, tell me what it would take for you to basically buy the sequel, and put your suggestions in the comment box below. I'd just like to quickly mention that I do realise that I've got to 500 subscribers, so thanks very much for everyone that's subscribed, it's very much appreciated. And I'll be doing my giveaway video shortly, but I am waiting on a camcorder, so it might not be for a few days yet, possibly a week or so. But thanks for all your support anyway, thanks for watching, please hit the like button if you like this, and please subscribe if you like this video. Peace out.